Hey Harmonizers, welcome to Texas. This is Elon and Shiney arriving in Texas at the Expo Center. Bear with me, this is going to be a longer video because it was a long trip. We were going down for the Worlds and I got a lot to show you guys. When we arrived, it was Halloween, so we took little Miss Evelyn trick-or-treating for a little bit. We got there a little bit too late, like it was daylight when we arrived, but by the time we got the horses settled and everything, she got to go for a little bit of trick-or-treating. I think we just went to less than 10 houses just to give her a chance to give her the experience. She was a little pink flamingo, so that was our start to getting down to Texas. And I was able to take my horses out into the arena just to let them look around and see what it was going to be all about. So that was on the Sunday when we arrived. There was nothing going on there, and we were able to get in and get settled. And we had quite a few days to get settled in when we got down there. So I took them for a bunch of walks and had to do a lot of getting them to stretch their legs. And there's a lot to do in Glen, Texas. So this is the dinosaur park, dinosaur world.
Triceratops. Say hi, Triceratops. Oh, naughty T-Rex. And who's that? Yeah, that's pterodactyl. Wow.
What do
you say? Naughty T-Rex.
Yeah, that's true.
No way.
T-Rex.
You scare him off.
You scare him. Roar!
This little place was called the Storybrooke Cafe, and it has its really cool children's play area that was right beside the tables for the cafe. They had really adorable lunch options, super cute. And then I participated in a clinic with little Mr. Elon, and there was a bunch of different activities they did. So this was an opportunity to actually ride in the Coliseum ring. And here's just an example of one of the exercises that we were doing. This is a backup figure 8 on the barrels. Cool little idea to do with your horse to test your backing up skills and your precision and things like that. Elon had never been worked so much in a day, so I was getting off of him between the exercises so I wasn't on his back too much, because it takes their backs time to build up the strengths to be ridden for that long. This is Josh Rushing, who was riding Shiney during the clinic, and here he's just demoing the maypole. So a maypole is basically a pole with a rope attached to it, and one of the obstacles, you may have to ride a circle and do some changes of direction with it and do a couple loops in either direction. So he's just showing some different ways you can do that, where you can turn to the outside or you can turn to the inside, and he was demoing how to kind of pick up the rope and make your circle. So that's a turn to the inside where Shiney ducks her head under the rope. And then the other options he was showing was a turn to the outside, which is where the horse's butt goes under the rope, which I think is actually easier to do because you don't have to worry about the horse's head getting caught on the rope or anything like that. So we did a bunch of different challenges. It was pretty fun. Little Miss Evelyn got to go for a ride on Shiney, and little Mr. Elon there. So I kind of got into a bit of a routine of taking the horses for a walk every morning, and then I would ride them later in the day. So they got out of their stalls for at least 2 different exercises, one of them where I rode them and another one where they just got to go for a hand walk. That's my dad leading Elon there, and my mom in the background with one of her friends, of course pushing the girls in the strollers. Here's me taking the ponies for a walk. There was a nearby park just across the way, which was kind of fun to go exploring. There's so much to do in Glen, Texas, with the parks and the dinosaur parks and really good restaurants, which I'll show you guys some of that as well. Little Miss Shiney got in the habit of having an afternoon nap, which was super cute. And after the workouts, I was giving them the Omega Alpha Equicell, which is for their electrolytes and to give them their minerals and things that they need to make sure that they were staying healthy on the trip. So you can see that they were taking that pretty nicely. I wasn't getting covered in the pace, so that's always a good sign. And then here's a little look in one of the warm-up rings. This is me riding Mr. Elon. So he was learning a lot of really cool things. There was a good stop. I got a little bit perched forward. So when I'm first training them, I'm just looking for the halt, canter transitions. It doesn't matter necessarily if they're stopping on the front end, the back end, just trying to get them to be responsive, and also learning that speed control piece of being able to go fast and slow within the same gait. So being able to do a fast canter, a slow canter. And he's become like a little superstar pony. He's just super fun, super fantastic. Here's a little look at him doing a nice little slow canter and then pushing him out a little bit, asking him to go a little faster and getting him to stretch his legs a little bit more. And he's been really starting to listen to my body and pick up on the different cues for what I want him to do. So here I'm going back to a slow canter. You can see it's slower than what we were doing before. And making our different circles. He's learned how to do a really tight little circle now, where he could actually do a canter circle around the maypole. So he's been picking up a lot of different skills, being able to ride him consistently every day down while in Texas. His training definitely progressed a lot, because that's probably some of the most focused training that we've had a chance to get to do. So we had a bunch of these practice days, warm-up days. The actual competition started on the Wednesday. So Monday was the clinic. Tuesday was just a day off. We went to the dinosaur park. Wednesday, the competition started, but not for my divisions, for other people. So I was just riding and practicing and warming up and stuff. And we really made it a family trip as well as a competition. So it was a real kind of all together trip of a bunch of things happening at once. Here's Elon starting to learn how to do his little spins. So starting to move those shoulders around that back end. So he's doing really nicely there. Trying to wait for a moment where he turns on his inside hind leg, which is right there. He planted his inside hind leg, and then taking a look at the other way to the left. And so all of these things, just having that little bit of extra time really helped. So you can see he's kind of spinning around. We didn't quite get it there. We want the back hind leg to stay planted through the turn. So a little bit trickier to do. There he held it really nicely, holding it as he comes around the turn. So he's going to get a cookie for that. Doing a really good job there, buddy. And learning to hold that a little bit longer. So when we first were going down to Texas, when I entered the competition, it was for mustangs that were adopted after April 1st. And then I guess due to low registration, there was only me and one other person that would have qualified under those rules. So they opened up the Mustang class to anybody with a Mustang, as long as they were the original adopter or owner. Here's him getting a little AccuMat treatment, which is to help with their back. So I was doing that for both my horses. So because of that, it meant that Elon was going to be competing with everybody who had a Mustang and people who had been in partnerships with their Mustangs for several years and not just a few months. So that definitely made it a little bit trickier for me, and I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that. But Shiney, I competed first, and so this is me just practicing my roping obstacle with the little barrel. We did a little bit every day to try to get that going a little bit better, because we get to know the courses a couple days in advance before we ride, so we know what we want to practice. And I don't like to drill my horses on a task, but I like to practice a little bit every day or in a session, just to try to get it a little bit better. And we don't know precisely what we're going to have to do. We just see something like roping or barrel roping, but we don't know how many revolutions we're going to have to do. We don't know what direction we're going to have to go, or if we're even going to have to change direction. So Shiny and I were just practicing our little circles, being able to wrap it as we went around, being able to do our change of direction. And Shiny's just been really fun to kind of get to know. She's got a lot of try, a lot of energy, and she really, really tries hard. And it's me trying to get things nice and smooth and get really relaxed and confident with her. So that's a little look at us practicing before we headed into our competition. And then Shiny competed first out of the two horses. So we competed on the Thursday. I'm not going to show you guys the whole run here because I posted it separately for you guys. But here is the end of her pattern, which I was so happy about because I suck at roping. Roping's not really my skill here, but I was able to get my loop out as I was cantering, which I've never really done before, get it on the barrel, and then get my little canter circles happening. And we had to do 2 canter circles, and we did them pretty nicely. And then we head out to the finish line, which was trailer loading for this particular task. So we had to get off our horse, open the gate, and then put our horse onto the trailer, and then shut the gate and run across the finish line ourselves, which is a little bit of a different way to do it, kind of a cool way to do it. So that was Miss Shiny Bear. We finished 10th in our futurity class. We didn't really have any big mistakes, just really tough competition, and she did really well. Here's a little look at Miss Melina as we watched a whole bunch of the competition going on. So many talented riders. It was super, super fun. So after Shiny, then it was a little bit more focus on Elon. Here's a little look at him practicing his spins again on a different day, starting to get a little bit smoother, even though this is just 2 days later, already starting to get a little faster, a little smoother, a little bit more confident. And we're just doing a little bit each time I take him out. And so because he was going to be competing against horses that had been training for years, like literally one of the partnerships was like a 7-year partnership, I knew that Elon didn't really stand a chance because the horses that we were going to be competing against, they were fast, they were smooth, they could do rollbacks, all these things that Elon's not really trained on yet. And I thought in order to push him to try to place in the top 3, I would have to push him really far out of his comfort zone. So I thought I'm just going to keep training him. I'm going to work on building his confidence. And this is a little horse that I really, really like. And if they're going to keep this a Mustang open class for years to come, then I can always bring him down again next year or in another year and bring him down and compete again. This was just a little bit showing you his slow canter and his fast canter. So I was just focusing on increasing his skills. Here's just a little bit of baby Melina breaking up the video footage for you guys. She's really like the best baby. She's so happy to just follow around. She's so happy when you finally pay attention to her, and she's so patient. She's just like, okay, play with the horses. So here's a little look at Miss Evelyn helping with the brushing and doing what mommy does. She likes to copy what I'm doing and going for those morning walks. That's my husband leading Mr. Elon there, and I'm taking Shiny out in one of the parks. So Friday we had another day off, kind of in between the competition, and this is the Fossil Rim Wildlife Sanctuary, which is a drive-through sanctuary. It is such a cool place to go. If you ever go to Glen, Texas, you have to go here. They take amazing care of the animals. The animals have amazing habitats to be on. It's absolutely huge, and the animals have complete free roam of where to go. They can come up to the car and get little kibbles. They give you the little kibbles to give to them, so that way you're giving them stuff that they're allowed to eat. And so they come over to the road to get little kibbles, and Evelyn had a great time feeding them and tossing food out to them. And the sanctuary is just so large that the animals really have such a great setup there. Lots of different types of animals, lots of different types of deer, animal. So that's little Miss Evelyn just tossing them the little kibbles on the floor. One of the big highlights was the giraffe. The giraffe was one of the animals that you were allowed to feed by hand. And the giraffe just comes over and literally sticks its head in our vehicle. And check out Evelyn's face as she feeds the giraffe. It's like this look of pure joy and excitement that there's this giraffe right there with his head in our truck. She just thought it was the best thing ever. And at the Fossil Rim Wildlife Sanctuary, they have this little lookout cafe that overlooks the part of the sanctuary. Here's a little look from the inside, and then I'll show you guys from outside. This is all the sanctuary, this huge area, and you can see the road or the driveway that goes through the sanctuary, and that's the path that you drive with your car. They make it really easy to follow, so it's this huge area. And they have a little petting zoo area, and instead of feeding their already chubby goats, you can brush them instead, which I thought was pretty cool, that you can give the kids brushes and they can brush the animals instead of feeding the animals. Was kind of cool. So they had some goats and a few other little animals to look at. The goats all decided to try to attack Melina's stroller because they figured she had food, which was kind of funny. My favorite, of course, are the zebras, and these guys are super friendly and clearly know what people are and that they give food. That was one of the tour trucks in front of us. Here's me feeding one of the zebras. I just think they're so gorgeous. They are just stunning. They're like a walking painting. So beautiful and so friendly and so gentle. They clearly are used to people and are very, very gentle with the food. They're not at all trying to bite you for the food or anything like that. Very gentle, very patient. And I was a little bit worried and kind of watching Evelyn give them the food there. You could see her kind of holding the hand, making sure that she didn't get her fingers bitten off. But they're so gentle and very used to people. There's Evelyn giving food, and they're just using their lips. They're not actually biting with their teeth. So it was a pretty cool experience to be able to do that. Here's a little look at the sanctuary park, and just gives you an idea of just how big the area is. There's actually a little pond area there, and there's a zebra. If you look closely, you can see the zebra standing there. I tried to zoom in on him so you could see him, but just kind of gives you an idea of just how huge the sanctuary is and how much space they have to roam. Really such an awesome place. The animals all seem like they have a great social life and a great physical life. Definitely a great place to be. The wildebeest are also super cool. These are my favorites as well because they're just such crazy looking animals. They've got all these parts from different animals. They're such unique looking creatures. Crazy cool, and they're very friendly. They come over to get the little kibbles as well. So that was our Friday, and then it was back to competition. Here's Josh giving Shiny a little tune-up, working on her spin a little bit, just trying to clean that up a little bit, get her on that inside hind leg, and doing a little tune-up ride, and then it's going to be back to the competition. Lots of good food. Here's at one of the Mexican restaurants. I had this dish served in a pineapple, which was super cool, and some fun dancing. And then competition day. So this was Saturday. Little Mr. Elon, this was his first time in the ring. He's like, oh my goodness, it's all set up with all these obstacles. So I'm not going to show you the whole video in this. I'll make it a separate clip because otherwise it's already a super long video. But I was so proud of him. He did everything. He was scared and nervous at certain things. Like here, he knows how to do a maypole, but he was a little bit apprehensive, wasn't really sure of the different setup and everything that was going on. But he completed every task, and nothing was like horrible. He didn't do anything really awful. He was just, a bit nervous as he went around. He ended up finishing 9th out of 9, and I wasn't really pushing him to go fast or anything like that. And then here's Miss Shiny going in for her round, and she was nervous of the ATV. So this is something that we've never done before, and she's never done before. We had to follow this ATV and get a water bottle out of the back of the ATV and then onto the rest of our obstacles. Again, I won't show the whole clip here, just a few little highlights. This was a cool obstacle. It was a hoist. You pick it up, you swing it, and I did this the fastest out of anybody. That was super cool, super fast, and then you had to slow down and get onto this really narrow bridge that a lot of people were struggling with. She did that super awesome. And then our spins, which I was really happy about. We came in, we got spinning, got her turned around really fast, and off we went through the finish line. So she did really well. We ended up finishing 13th. Again, we didn't do anything, really bad, just not as smooth as some other people. It was really tough competition. So I was really happy with her. Here's little Miss Evelyn watching with me while we have some nachos. It was funny. She was talking about the bear and saying how the bear was scared and needed a mummy bear. And I thought that was pretty darn adorable. So that was our Saturday competition. We headed out to another one of the restaurants where they had really delicious food, this really delicious raspberry sauce and delicious veggies, and Evelyn's got her little book there. So lots of good meals out with our family, which was super fun. And then this is Sunday's competition. Elon comes in for the top 10 for the Mustangs, and we rope our cow, which I'm pretty happy that I actually caught the cow because I don't always catch things, so that was pretty awesome. And then because I knew that he wasn't going to be finishing the top 3, I was just focusing on making it a good experience for him, and I wanted to make sure we did all of our obstacles cleanly. So here's an example. We were supposed to canter this circle and then get out. He didn't canter the first one, so I asked him to canter a second one to make sure he cantered it, and then I went out and on to the rest of the pattern. So I took my time to make sure that he finished every obstacle really confidently and did everything how it was kind of supposed to be done, which meant that I wasn't as fast as I was supposed to be, but I knew that this was now going to be a schooling opportunity for him, and we really weren't competing to try to win or finish in the top 3. But he's such a cool Mustang, and hopefully they'll do a Mustang class in the future, and hopefully we'll be back for that in another year, or maybe a year, maybe 2 years, I'm not really sure, but hopefully we'll be back down to Worlds to do the Mustang class together, and he's such a fun horse. Little Miss Evelyn discovered some more trotting, which I wish I didn't teach her about trotting, because she's like, more trotting please, more trotting please. She just loves it. She thinks it's the best thing ever. It's funny because when she trots around, she basically trots like a floppy loose potato. She doesn't, I was trying to tell her, sit up tall, but that was not really working. But she thought it was the best thing ever, and Shiney was such a good sport for her, doing little rides for her. More meals out. This was at another Mexican restaurant. Really good food, really good options. And then that was that, loading up the ponies for on the way home. On the way home, we made quite a few stops on the way home to separate things out for the horses. And this is just loading them up to get ready to leave out of Texas, getting Shiney put on there, and then Elon at the back. You always want to put the heaviest horse first and the lightest horse in the back, because it just helps with the towing for it to feel a little smoother and be a little easier to haul. So I do Shiney first, and then Elon, get his divider put in there. And then I always do up the back butt bar, just so that way it's not moving around and being extra noisy, banging around or things like that. So I just do up all the little latches for them. So their first stopover was in Arkansas, and they got to be in a round pen together. It was a pretty good round pen. So they enjoyed getting to have a nice good roll and stretch their legs. And there was actually a bunch of other horses that were from the Texas show as well that were stopping overnight as well at the same stop, which is kind of funny. And then their next stop was in Kentucky, and they got this huge grass pasture. They are those small speckles that you can barely see midway down the fence there on the right. So they had all this space to roam. So they were pretty happy. I was worried that they were going to be hard to catch after such a big space to roam in, but they were easy to catch and head home on the rest of the ride. On our last stop, we stopped in Michigan. I didn't take a video clip of the ponies. They just had stalls there to be in. But this is little Melina, and she got given this cute little unicorn by one of our fans there in Michigan. So we were pretty thankful for that. She thought it was pretty cool looking. She was watching that. And we were able to make a little pit stop with Evelyn's cousins on the way home to see them. And you can see the weather is certainly different in Canada. Most of the leaves are all gone from the trees, and it was definitely getting a lot cooler. The kids are in hats and gloves and coats for the most part. They're trying to stay warm because it is chilly. Snow is going to be flying pretty soon, but it was nice for Evelyn to get some time to run around. When I went to Texas in the past, I did the drive in 2 days, but because of Evelyn, we decided to do the drive in 4 days. So that way we weren't doing a whole lot each day. The horses got to have nice breaks, but then also Evelyn got to swim in the pools and run around and play and not be in the truck for too long of the day. So overall, Texas was a super fun experience. Had a great time with my family, with the horses, and really look forward to hopefully doing it again in the future. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that.